Hey there, friends and enemies, Jopa here again, and I might have found my new favorite Strand Warlock build for Destiny 2 PvP, which allows me to grapple melee and one-hit kill with it. It's absolutely hilarious. I love it so much, and I'll be using this thing quite a bit going forward. I can promise you that. It is a blast to use, and essentially how it works is you'll grapple melee in, you'll get the damage, your threadlings will spawn, but you'll be using the necrotic grip, so you'll get the melee damage over time, and essentially you'll just be one-shotting people fairly consistently. It doesn't always work. If it doesn't, then you'll have to get a single shot off in order to finish them, but oftentimes that's not really necessary. I decided also to pair this with Thorn instead of Osteo. Osteo probably would have been the better call to spray down people, but I wanted to test out Thorn because I don't rock it a lot, and I figured I'd see how it was performing in PvP right now. It is a little bit underwhelming, I will say that. But the Necrotic Grip combo with the Strand Warlock is too much fun to pass up, and I highly recommend trying it out, whether it's with Osteo or Thorn. Either one will work just fine, and it's just really a clear weapon. You're not really using it to engage gunfights all the time, so it's not as big of a deal. So jumping into what the Necrotic Grip does and why it's so good, it's got the perk Grasp of the Devourer. Damaging combatants poisons them, dealing increasing damage over time. Defeating a poison combatant spreads the condition. That's the other nice thing, is when I do grapple melee in, I get the initial kill. It does spread the poison, so I can clean up with my next couple shots in order to finish the fight. So I am rocking Thorn with this, and this has the Mark of the Devourer. Rounds pierce targets and deal damage over time. Kills this weapon, leave behind remnants. I gotta remember to go get those remnants more often than not, because often I will forget. I'm not used to that gameplay loop because I just don't use Thorn that often. The other weapon I was using was the Basto Ostinato shotgun. This is brand new this season, and it has destabilizing rounds just for the shenanigans of it. So essentially, whenever I get a kill, whether it's my grapple melee, whether it's with my Thorn, whether it's with the Basto, I am damaging nearby enemies as well. So I want to be kind of in the fight as often as possible, and that's made easy by the fact that I do have all these abilities and ways to damage enemies nearby, so I can kind of finish them off. The other combination that works very well with this is the fact that on the Broodweaver, I'm also generating my threadlings all the time. They're not going to be as strong as if I was using swarmers. However, it doesn't really matter because of all the ways I can do different types of damage. So for my Broodweaver, I am rocking the Grapple Grenade as well as your standard Arcane Needle, which I will say the Arcane Needle is better than people think, because not only with the Necrotic Grips am I doing the damage over time, I can track enemies very easily. If I hit them with my Arcane Needle and they go behind cover, I can find them and then finish them off, because I am getting that damage over time, and I can use the Arcane Needle at range to do so. So that's very, very nice, and I like it a lot. Plus, when you do hit them with an Arcane Needle, you will unravel them as well, which is awesome. So I like that a lot, and it's actually more effective melee than I think most people realize. Now, as far as the aspects go, what really helps out is the Mind Split Invocation. Your grapple melee spawns 3 threadling eggs. So if my DOT doesn't finish them, if my grapple melee doesn't one-shot them, the threadlings almost always will, so it's just such an easy cleanup. And then, if I get myself in danger, I'm doing damage to everybody in the area, I will then pop a rift, and with my other aspect, I'll have Weaver's Call, and that will allow me to weave 3 threadlings and deploy the threadlings that I have perched. I don't really perch them with this build as much, but I will be using those threadlings to do damage to nearby enemies in order to make the gunfights just a little bit easier for me. I also have Thread of Evolution for the Fragment. Threadlings travel farther and deal additional damage, which is nice. Thread of Generation, dealing damage generates grenade energy. I essentially want to have my grenade uptime as high as possible. And then Thread of Continuity, suspend, unravel, and sever applies. Effects applied have increased duration. And then finally Thread of Finality. This is for the increased recovery, just because my build was lacking just a little bit. Other than that, getting into my mods, it's pretty solid with the Kinetic and Void Siphon. Either way, I'm going to generate an orb, Ashes to Assets as well. I've got Kinetic Loader. I like to reload the Thorn pretty quickly if possible, as well as Heavy Handed. unflinching kinetic aim, kinetic weapon surge, time dilation, and bomber, and those are generally the weapons or the mods that you'll be using for this build. Also, the artifact perks don't matter as much because you aren't really using a strand weapon to destroy any tangles or anything like that. It does help if you have volatile flow, even though it doesn't matter as much because I do have the destabilizing rounds on my shotgun, which is nice, so I don't have to worry about generating volatile flow. But you can also have something like the void weapon channeling, but again, you're not running a void build with this, so it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, this is one of the few perks that doesn't, or few builds that doesn't really benefit from the artifact perks this season. Now, in the gameplay, my way to play this is to essentially grapple in, melee, finish somebody off with a thorn shot if they need to, and then drop my rift and then continue the fight from there. Whether it's with my shotgun or my thorn, either way, I'm able to move from one target to the next pretty consistently, and I do like it very much in sixes. This is not a build I would ever use in 3v3 unless I was very comfortable hitting my shots with a thorn, just because players tend to be more alert in 3v3, whether it's competitive or trials, and it is a very risky play to grapple melee people, but it's just a lot of fun, and that's really what this build is all about. It's not going to be the most S tier build for threes, but it will be a ton of fun if you decide to check this out in 6v6 Iron Banner or traditional Crucible. So I also like this a lot because of the fact that I'm a Titan main by nature. I've been a Titan main since day one of D1, and I love having the ability to one-hit kill with a melee. So that's why I've long been running Peregrine Greaves on my Solar Titan, because I want to one-hit kill as often as possible, and especially if I can do it consistently. And that's something that's been lacking from the Warlock ever since they nerfed the melees and they reduced the one-hit kill potential of the shoulder charges typically on the Titan. Same thing with the Warlock, where you used to be able to really do a heftier damage with a lot of the melees. This is the first one that I'm really feeling like I'm able to consistently get the kill easily. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like the video if you did. I'm having a lot of fun with this build, and I hope I see it more often. Maybe not with Osteo. That gun is frustrating to deal with in PvP at times, even though it's not all that good, I don't think. But it can be a pain in the butt. So other than that, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Helps me out tremendously. Shows you want to see more Destiny 2 content from me. I've been tossing up a ton of videos. PvE, doesn't matter. I'm just kind of doing a little bit of both and enjoying the game as much as possible right now. My name is JoPa. I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.